Hi there, and welcome to Reddit Confessions. What you're about to hear isn't fiction. At least, I wish it were. The DJ was 2 hours late. The catering table had a collapsing leg. The champagne flutes were actually plastic. And yet, somehow, the event still managed to become the most humiliating night of my life. See, this was my night. I planned it. I led the project. I got the email from the director himself saying, "This entire quarter wouldn't have happened without you." And yet, no one looked at me. Not even her. She walked in wearing emerald green and a smile like she owned the building. Everyone turned. Everyone greeted her. I saw the way the new intern's eyes followed her across the room like she was gravity. And me? I stood by the back wall, holding a half-eaten slider and pretending to laugh when someone made a joke about delivery trucks. It was my event, my night, my wife, and she was pretending I wasn't even alive. She introduced herself as Mal, no mention of a husband. She said she was just here to support the team I ran, the team I built from scratch when this company was running out of breath. I watched her glide between groups like she was some kind of celebrity. She complimented people I didn't even know she'd met. She took photos for other people's LinkedIn pages. She whispered something into our director's ear that made him laugh so hard he spilled champagne on his shirt. Still, not one glance toward me. Not one, "This is my husband." Not even a nod. And I kept telling myself, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe she's just trying to help me look important by keeping her distance. Maybe this is networking. Maybe I'm being overly sensitive. But then I saw her with Logan, the tall guy from accounting, the one who drives a vintage convertible and always wears leather shoes, even on Zoom calls. He was standing very close, his hand on her waist, not low, but not innocent either. And the worst part? She didn't move away. She didn't look surprised. She just smiled. At that point, I couldn't breathe. I wasn't angry. I wasn't jealous. I was blank. Just this hollow sensation, like someone had scooped me out with a spoon. So I left. I walked right past her. She didn't notice. I walked out the front doors. No one followed. I got into my car. I didn't start it. I just sat there, headlights off, staring at the building. And right as I was about to drive home and pretend nothing happened, my phone lit up. Unknown number. If you left already, you should know what happened next. I didn't even blink. I put the car in park, and I went back inside. I wasn't thinking when I got out of the car. My body moved before my mind caught up, like I was sleepwalking into a nightmare I couldn't shake. That message haunted me. You should know what happened next. Who sent it? What did they see that I didn't? I pushed open the front doors of the building with my heart punching against my ribs. The music had shifted to something louder, sweatier. A party that no longer felt corporate at all. If I had stayed in the car, if I had just driven home, maybe I could have lied to myself a little longer. The room was different now. The small talk had died. The slideshow about shipping milestones was gone from the projector screen, replaced with some kind of dance floor haze. The HR guy, Joel, who's never made eye contact with me, was shirtless and trying to teach someone a dance move. I didn't even know this company had a wild side. I never got the memo, apparently. But I didn't come back for the awkward dancing. I came back for her. I scanned the crowd. Not at the bar. Not near the snack table. Not even in the hallway where she'd been posing with coworkers earlier. Then I saw a door swing closed at the end of the corridor near the conference rooms. Rooms no one was supposed to be using tonight. A flash of green. Her dress. I moved toward it like I was walking underwater. My legs numb. My palms sweating. That sick, cold feeling had returned. I pressed my ear to the door before I even realized what I was doing. It wasn't locked. I should have knocked. I should have walked away. But I didn't. I turned the handle slowly and pushed the door open just enough to see what was inside. And there she was, Mallory, standing close to Logan. Too close. He had one hand on the wall beside her head and the other gripping a glass of something amber-colored. Her voice was soft, almost flirtatious. I caught part of it. "You know he'll never leave. He doesn't have the guts." Logan laughed. That smug, deep laugh of a man who thinks he's already won. He replied, "Then why stay married at all?" She shrugged, as if the answer didn't matter. "Because it keeps the bills easy, and he still thinks I love him." I didn't barge in. I didn't make a scene. I just stood there, silently, hearing the echo of her voice stab through whatever pieces of trust one had left. My feet were glued to the floor. I should have been angry, but I wasn't. I was embarrassed. Emptied. Replaced. I closed the door slowly and backed away without a sound. I felt like a janitor catching a secret he was never meant to clean up. I walked back to the car, every step heavier than the last. I didn't drive away immediately. Instead, I sat in the dark again, heart beating somewhere in my throat, while a strange calm settled over me. It wasn't rage. It wasn't heartbreak. It was clarity, the kind that doesn't ask for explanations anymore. My phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. One word this time, now. I typed back, yes. I didn't know what I was agreeing to, but whoever was on the other end already knew what I had seen. And they had a plan. I was done pretending. I was done being erased in the room I paid for. And Mallory? She had no idea that the real show was about to start. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I just kept staring at my phone, at that one word, now. And the message I sent back, yes. I didn't know who they were, how they knew what I saw, or why they even cared. But deep down, I wasn't surprised someone had been watching. You don't fall apart in front of that many people without at least one pair of eyes noticing. I guess I just didn't expect them to reach out. And certainly not like this. Around 3:14 a.m., I got a new message. This one was longer. Check your email. The folder is called Truth. Password, 8 years lost. My stomach dropped. 8 years. That was how long Mallory and I had been married. I opened my laptop with trembling hands. There it was, an anonymous email, no subject line, just a cloud link. I typed the password in, half expecting some scam or spam or virus. But instead, I found screenshots, videos, audio files, dozens of them. The first file was titled, "This is who she is." I clicked it. My breath caught in my throat. It was footage from a hotel lobby from just 2 weeks ago. Mallory, standing near the elevator, her arm tucked under Logan's. They looked cozy, comfortable, like they'd done this 100 times. He kissed her cheek. She laughed and leaned her head on his shoulder. She wasn't drunk. She wasn't under duress. She looked happy. Another file, a voice memo. It sounded like a phone left on a table, still recording. I recognized Mallory's voice instantly. "Ray wouldn't suspect a thing," she said. "He still thinks I'm burned out from work." I could probably tell him I joined a meditation cult, and he'd just nod and offer to pack my lunch. I paused the recording. My throat went dry. I could barely recognize the version of me she was describing. Spineless, passive, some joke of a man she kept around for convenience. But the worst part? She wasn't even wrong. I had stopped asking questions months ago. I blamed myself for her distance. I tried harder. Bought flowers. Cooked dinner. Cleaned the gutters in the rain. She gave me silence, and I offered her patience. And she mocked me for it. I listened to 3 more recordings, each one a blade I willingly pulled from the drawer and dragged across my own heart. In one, she joked about how easy it was to manipulate me into canceling vacations. In another, she said, "He's so desperate to be good, he'll ignore anything that feels bad." And in one clip that nearly made me throw the laptop across the room, she whispered, "Honestly, if Ray ever left, I'd probably panic. I wouldn't know how to pay the bills on my own." The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was spiritual, existential, like my entire identity had been rewritten behind my back in a language I never learned to read. And still, I didn't feel anger. What I felt was this aching numbness, like my mind had built a room for grief, and I was just pacing inside, unable to sit down. I sent a reply to the anonymous email. Just one line. "Why are you helping me?" The response came 10 minutes later. "Because I know how it feels to be erased." That's when something shifted inside me. Because I realized this person, whoever they were, wasn't offering me revenge. They were offering me clarity. A flashlight in the dark. A mirror I couldn't avoid. I wasn't going to scream or fight or beg for anything. Not anymore. I was going to watch. I was going to learn. And Mallory was going to face the version of me she never believed could exist. The one who finally opened his eyes. The next morning felt different, but not in the way you'd think. I didn't wake up furious. I didn't throw Mallory's things out or storm into the kitchen demanding answers. No, I made her coffee, just like every other morning. 2 sugars, no milk, almond creamer if we had it. I handed it to her like it didn't burn my soul to watch her smile at me like everything was normal. She took a sip, nodded once, and said, "Thanks, babe," before walking back into her home office, the same one where I now imagined her texting Logan while I fixed leaky faucets and meal-prepped salads she never touched. I sat on the edge of our bed, holding her mug for too long, staring at the steam as if it could tell me how I became this ghost of a man. But something inside me had shifted. I wasn't chasing comfort anymore. I was watching, recording. Not with cameras. No, I didn't need more videos. I needed to understand her language, the way she moved through this house with such ease, knowing I was here, yet already written out of her story. The emails from the anonymous sender kept coming, like chapters of a book I wasn't ready to read but couldn't look away from. The next one included a forwarded message from Logan's personal Gmail account. Subject line: "Tell me when he's gone." The email had no body, just an attachment. A calendar invite for a weekend in Tahoe. My name wasn't on it. Of course it wasn't. But hers was. I checked our shared calendar. That same weekend, she had marked yoga retreat. No service. I laughed. Actually laughed. It came out of nowhere, like my body finally ran out of tears and decided comedy was all that was left. That night, she was distant again. Her phone glued to her hand, face lit by texts she wouldn't let me see. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. I knew. Instead, I asked something else. Something small. "Hey, do you ever think we lost us?" She looked up from her phone like I had spoken in a different language. "What?" I shrugged. "Just wondering if we ever stopped being you and me. If we became something else. Something colder." Mallory blinked, then gave me this tired, dismissive smile. "Don't be so dramatic, Ray. We're just busy. That's life. Everyone grows up eventually. Stop romanticizing the past." It was almost impressive, the way she brushed off the death of a marriage with a sip of wine and a comment about adulthood. Like love was something that expired naturally, like old coupons or bananas. I nodded and excused myself to the garage, saying I needed to look for a wrench. Instead, I sat in my car again, this time with the seat fully reclined and my laptop open. There was another message waiting. This one wasn't from the stranger. It was from someone named Avery. The subject line read, "I was in your shoes, and I did something about it." Inside was a link to a private forum. No title, no ads, just story after story from people like me. People who were lied to, used, emotionally dissected, and told to smile through it. There were discussions about healing, about documentation, about legal steps, about rebuilding your sense of self after it's been quietly dismantled over years. But what caught my eye wasn't the advice. It was the phrase repeated in every post, sometimes hidden like an inside joke, sometimes bolded like a battle cry. They only win if you let them walk away clean. That night, I printed the Tahoe reservation, folded it, slid it into a blank envelope. No note, no explanation, and I placed it gently in Mallory's yoga bag, the one she was already packing in secret. I didn't want to confront her yet. I wanted to watch her panic. There's a sound no one warns you about. It's not loud, not dramatic, but you feel it deep in your gut when it happens. It's the sound of a fabric tearing, not literal cloth, but something invisible between two people who once shared everything. It's like the moment a sail splits in the wind, and the boat keeps drifting even though you know it's not going anywhere good. That's what I heard the morning she found the envelope. I was at the kitchen table pretending to work on budget spreadsheets I'd opened purely for camouflage. I saw her come down the stairs with her gym bag, hair up in a messy bun, earbuds already in. She didn't notice the envelope until she reached the door. She pulled it out slowly, cautiously, as if it might contain something dangerous. And in a way, it did. She opened it right there. Her back was to me, but I saw her shoulders stiffen. Her hand clenched tighter around the paper than I'd ever seen. No gasp. No flinch, just silence. That cold, surgical silence you only get when someone realizes they've been caught in a trap they thought they set. She stood frozen for a long time. I didn't move, didn't speak. I sipped my coffee and scrolled through an empty Excel cell, acting like I hadn't just watched her realize her retreat had been exposed. Finally, she turned around. Her face was blank, impressively blank. The kind of blank only a practiced liar can manage. "Did you go through my bag?" she asked, her tone flat. I looked up slowly, feigning confusion. "What?" She held up the paper. "This." I squinted like I hadn't seen it before. "Oh, that must have gotten mixed up. Weird. You know, our shared email keeps syncing random junk lately." She stared at me, not blinking, like she was trying to figure out if I was bluffing or insane. And I could see it. Right then, she didn't know who she was dealing with anymore. For the first time in years, Mallory looked at me and saw someone unfamiliar. Not weak. Not soft. Not predictable. Just unreadable. She folded the paper neatly, slid it back into the envelope, and said, "We'll talk later." I nodded. "Sure. Have a good retreat." She didn't go. Instead, she stayed home, pacing the kitchen like a caged animal, making fake calls in the living room loud enough for me to hear, telling someone, or no one, that the schedule changed and that she wasn't feeling well anyway. The lies fell out of her mouth so easily I wondered how many times she'd practiced them in front of the mirror. By evening, the silence between us had thickened into something suffocating. She sat across from me at dinner, barely touching her food, eyes darting around like she was calculating every possible next move. I kept eating, slowly, quietly. Every bite was a choice not to scream. And then, she said it, casually, like we were discussing weather. "Do you think we're okay?" I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I replied, "That depends on how much longer you want to keep pretending." Her fork clattered against the plate. She opened her mouth, closed it again, and finally said, "If you've been snooping through my stuff, that's not okay, Ray. That's toxic." I almost laughed. Toxic? That was rich. But I didn't bite. I just leaned back and said, "You're right. I won't do that anymore. I don't need to." She looked rattled. "What's that supposed to mean?" I shrugged. "It means you'll tell me what matters. Or you won't. But either way, I already know." The tension in the room stretched so tight I thought something might snap. But it didn't. She stood up, quietly excused herself, and went to bed early. Didn't say goodnight. Didn't look back. I stayed up late. And when the house finally went quiet, I checked my inbox again. Avery had sent a new message. "She's unraveling. Let her. Now's when she makes mistakes." Attached was something I didn't expect. A short video, no more than 30 seconds. It was Logan. He wasn't with Mallory. He was with someone else. And the caption underneath simply said, "He plays everyone." When I first saw the video, I thought I had clicked the wrong link. It was grainy, captured from a distance, probably a parking lot camera. A man stood leaning against a white car, one foot propped against the door, his arms crossed as he waited. A woman approached, but it wasn't Mallory. It wasn't anyone I recognized. She was younger, blonder, a little too polished to be casual. She walked up to Logan, kissed him like she owned him, and handed him a small envelope before slipping into the passenger seat. He didn't hesitate. He got in, turned the engine, and drove off like this was just another routine Thursday night. I watched the clip 3 times. Then I opened the second attachment, a screenshot of a reservation. Same weekend as the supposed yoga retreat, but different name, different woman, same hotel. So Logan wasn't just lying to me. He was lying to Mallory too, and maybe others. I wasn't sure whether I felt vindicated or even more hollow. I sat in the dark, my laptop screen lighting up the room, and tried to make sense of it all. This wasn't a love affair. This wasn't romance. This wasn't someone falling for someone else. This was strategy, use, leverage, transactions disguised as attention. And I wondered, how long had Mallory been just another name in Logan's rotation? Did she know? Did she suspect? Or was she just like me, clinging to someone who never really saw her at all? For the first time since this mess started, I felt pity. Not sympathy, just pity for the version of her that thought this man was going to be her way out, her next chapter. She traded years of my loyalty for a guy who couldn't even stay faithful for one long weekend. The next morning, I printed the screenshot. No caption, no note. I left it on her pillow while she was showering. I didn't stay to see her reaction. I grabbed my keys, left the house, and drove to a coffee shop 2 towns over just to breathe air that didn't smell like stale deceit. I sat near the window with a mug I didn't finish, refreshing my inbox like a man waiting for orders. At 10:22 a.m., a new message from Avery appeared. Subject, it's time to start talking. Body, you've watched long enough. You've learned enough. If you stay quiet now, she'll recover and rewrite the story. If you speak, you shape it. Choose. I didn't respond immediately. I just stared at those last 3 words. Choose. 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 My mind was a whirlpool of contradiction. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want her to hurt. I didn't even want to win. I just wanted the truth to be a thing she couldn't escape anymore. No spin. No excuses. Just facts. When I returned home, she was in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed with the printout in her hand. Her face was pale. Not crying. Not angry. Just wrecked. She didn't speak when I walked in. She didn't have to. I sat across from her in the armchair by the window, crossed my arms, and asked, was he the plan? Or just the escape route? Her lips parted, but no words came out. I leaned forward. You've got 5 seconds before I stop caring entirely. She swallowed hard. I didn't know. It was the first honest sentence I think she'd said in weeks. I didn't know about her. He said he was single. Said he cared. I thought. You thought he was your next elevator ride. I said, voice low. You thought he was going to pull you out of the marriage you gave up on years ago, and he was going to reward you for it. But he wasn't coming for you. He was collecting moments. And you were just a layover. Tears finally welled in her eyes, but I wasn't moved. Not anymore. She whispered, why didn't you say anything sooner? Why let it go this far? I looked her dead in the eye. Because I wanted you to step fully into the lie. I wanted to see what version of yourself you'd become when you thought no one was watching. And now that I've seen it, I know everything I need to know. She broke down. Really broke. The ugly cry. The one where the makeup runs, and the voice cracks, and the whole body shakes. And I felt nothing. No pleasure. No triumph. No closure. Just nothing. It turns out, when someone disappears you for long enough, the only thing you mourn is your own ability to still care. I stood up, walked to the door, and said, you can stay here tonight. But tomorrow, we start talking about what splitting everything looks like. Or I start showing people things they deserve to see. She didn't beg. She didn't protest. She just nodded, like someone who finally realized the story was no longer hers to narrate. And behind me, the door clicked shut with a sound louder than any goodbye. The next morning felt like standing on the edge of a frozen lake, knowing full well it's going to crack, and still choosing to take the next step. Mallory didn't sleep in our bed. I heard her moving around in the guest room, occasionally muttering to herself like she was trying to rehearse a version of this story she could still live with. But I wasn't looking for explanations anymore. I wasn't looking for apologies. I was looking for consequences. I sat at the dining table, scrolling through the emails I had saved, the recordings, the screenshots, the video of Logan with the other woman, and then I made a decision that didn't come easily. I clicked forward on one of the emails and sent it to my work address. Subject, in case I forget who I am again. That morning, she came downstairs late, wearing the robe I got her 2 Christmases ago, the one she once said felt like a hug. She avoided my eyes, poured coffee with shaking hands, then finally said, I didn't tell him about you. I mean, not really. I didn't answer right away. She went on. I told him we were more like roommates, that we didn't really talk, that you were always working, that it wasn't real anymore. I nodded slowly. Funny, you never said a word to me about that. I guess it's easier to rewrite your marriage when no one checks your drafts. She flinched. Not dramatically, just enough for me to know the words hit somewhere real. I didn't mean for it to get this far, she added. Lies always go further than you plan, I said. You think you're building an escape, but you're just digging a longer tunnel with no exit. She sat down across from me like we were about to discuss bills. That's how absurd it felt. Like we were balancing a checkbook instead of the ruins of something that once had a heartbeat. I don't love him, she said suddenly. Not anymore. Maybe I never did. I stared at her. Then why him? Her voice cracked. Because he made me feel wanted again. Because I felt invisible. And I didn't know how to say that to you without sounding cruel. I almost laughed. So instead, you just were cruel. She didn't argue. She reached for my hand, and I pulled it away. We sat there in the silence, 2 people surrounded by the echoes of everything they never said in time. Then I took a deep breath and dropped the next piece of truth on the table. I'm going to tell them, I said. The company. My team. I'm going to show them who Logan is. You're not the only person he's been manipulating. Turns out, he's been pushing people out of projects, quietly steering promotions, and sleeping his way into influence. I've got the emails. The proof. Everything. She looked panicked. You can't, he'll take me down with him. I know, I said. But here's the thing, Mallory. You took me down with you, and I didn't even get a warning. Tears welled again, but I didn't flinch this time. I'll keep your name out of it, I added. Not for you. For me. Because I want to move forward without dragging your shame behind me. That afternoon, I met with our HR director. I showed her the emails, the videos, the evidence of professional manipulation, not personal betrayal. I kept Mallory's name out of it. I didn't need to destroy her to reclaim myself. But Logan? He had built his entire career on illusion. And the moment I gave HR the right keywords, the dominoes started falling. The investigation was opened. Discreet, but real. Mallory didn't ask for updates. She walked around the house like a shadow of the woman who used to own every room. I let her be. We didn't fight. We didn't talk. We just existed, two people tethered by paperwork and shared Wi-Fi, counting days in silence. But on the fifth day, something shifted. She left her ring on the counter. No note. No words. Just the ring. I stared at it for a long time. And then I picked it up, held it for one final second, and placed it in the drawer next to the envelope from the stranger who started all of this. Because the ending was near. But it still wasn't finished. It's strange how quiet closure can be. You imagine it's going to be a dramatic thunderclap, shouting, storming, slamming doors. But when it finally came for me, it was just peace. Not fireworks. Just stillness. The kind that comes after a long, slow storm has emptied itself and moved on. Mallory moved out 2 weeks later. There was no screaming, no final speech, no last-minute apology that would twist the knife. Just a simple, I think it's time. And I nodded because I agreed. I helped her load her things into the trunk, gave her the small box of items she had left in the garage. When she turned to say goodbye, I didn't step forward. I didn't try to freeze the moment in place. I just said, take care. And I meant it. That same day, I took off work. Not because I was broken, but because I wasn't anymore. I spent the afternoon walking around the lake by myself, the one we used to visit once a year before she stopped suggesting it. I left my phone in the car. No messages. No emails. Just real air and sunlight. The company quietly let Logan go. There was no scandal, no public firing. But word got around. Everyone knew. And for the first time in years, people at work started actually looking at me again, not as a background character, but as someone who mattered. I didn't feel invisible anymore. And I didn't feel bitter either. He didn't win. But more importantly, I didn't lose myself trying to destroy him. As for the emails, the messages, Avery, I never found out who they really were. One day, they just stopped. The last thing they sent me was a quote. When you choose to see, you stop being someone else's shadow. I wrote it down on a sticky note and pinned it to my bathroom mirror. Every morning, I look at it. Not because I'm haunted, but because I'm awake now. I started cooking again. Not to impress anyone, just because I like it. I signed up for a book club at the library. I even joined a fitness class with zero coordination and way too much sweating. But I laugh now, genuinely. And when I see couples holding hands, I don't feel bitterness, just a quiet hope that they're choosing each other with both eyes open. Sometimes healing doesn't look like running away. Sometimes it looks like staying right where the pain happened and rebuilding there anyway. And now, looking back, I don't regret the night of that corporate party. The moment she pretended I didn't exist. Because it reminded me to stop pretending she did. That version of her, the one I clung to, never really showed up for me in the end. But I did. I showed up for myself. And maybe that's the most honest kind of love we ever find. The kind that begins when you stop chasing someone who made a habit of losing you. Thanks for watching, everyone. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment below and tell us. And subscribe to Reddit Confessions, where the truth finally speaks.